65 years ago today, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous opinion in the landmark school segregation case, Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka. In that unanimous decision, the court said,
"In these days, it is doubtful
that any child may reasonably be expected to succeed in life
if he is denied the opportunity of an education.
Such an opportunity, when the state has undertaken to provide it,
is a right which must be made available to all on equal terms.
on equal terms.
On equal terms.
In the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal has no place.
Separate educational facilities are inherently
Unequal.
I was 14 years old, growing up in rural Alabama. I thought, and I truly believe, that the next school year I will be attending an integrated public school. It never happened for me.
but the court's historic ruling was not the end of school segregation. It was the beginning of a long, difficult, and continuing struggle to fulfill the promise of equity in education. The enactment and enforcement of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965 led to decades of meaningful school desegregation that improved academic performance for students of color and narrowed the achievement gap. Conservatives soon recognized that the same institution that started the movement towards school desegregation could be used to stop it. Beginning in 1969, Republican presidents appointed the next 10 Supreme Court justices, forming a bloc of conservatives who questioned the constitutionality of desegregation. With the help of political leaders in both parties, the court's conservatives erased nearly 2 decades of progress on school diversity.
America's public schools are more segregated today.
more segregated today
Than at any time since the 1960s.
Segregated schools mean segregated opportunity. There is a $23 billion racial funding gap between school districts serving students of color and school districts serving predominantly white students.
This is a major reason why Black students who attend desegregated schools are more likely to graduate from high school, attend college, attend a more selective school, and complete college.
The circumstances that reversed our progress toward educational equity are once again in place today.
We have a radically conservative Supreme Court and an administration that does not accept its responsibility to promote school diversity or enforce civil rights laws.
Madam Secretary, do you believe that racial segregation in public schools poses a threat to the educational opportunity for children of color? Just looking for a yes or a no.
Congressman, I'm concerned about every student, no matter where they are and where they go to school. And
I know you're concerned about every student, but racial segregation poses a threat for children. That's an easy one. You could give me a yes on that one.
Congressman, I'm concerned with every single student.
Over the past year, at least 10 executive and judicial nominees have refused to say whether Brown versus Board was correctly decided.
Ms. Vitter, do you believe that Brown versus Board of Education was correctly decided?
Senator, I don't mean to be coy, but I think I get into a difficult area when I start commenting on Supreme Court decisions which are correctly decided and which I may disagree with.
We live in a better world, in a better place. There's still forces trying to take us back.
Brown versus Board of Education corrected the path we were on, but there is still much work to be done.
Congress must take action.
We need to keep striving for diversity in our schools, and that when we do that, everybody does better.
one of our most sacred duties as Americans and as members of Congress is to fulfill the promise of Brown v. Board of Education.
Let us recommit ourselves to the important task of fulfilling its promise once and for all.
This month, the Committee on Education and Labor held its first hearing on school desegregation and civil rights enforcement in 3 decades. And yesterday, we advanced 2 bills to support local efforts to improve school diversity and protect students' civil rights. House Democrats are also advancing bills that would invest in rebuilding and modernizing crumbling school buildings and provide record levels of funding for public education.
We must ensure that every child has the opportunity that comes with a high quality and first-rate public education.
Education is the great equalizer.
But if they're not even given access to those opportunities, they don't stand a chance.
We must work together in Congress and in communities to ensure that all students have the opportunity to reach their full potential.
We're one people, we're one family, we all live in the same house, the American house.